Let's talk about education. We're not going to go into the higher levels of education, such as college levels and things like that. We're going to more so focus on the grade school levels. So, the kindergarten students, the middle school students, and the high school students. Thank you so much for tuning in to the I Give Life to Life podcast with Coach Nrgy. And you guys, make sure that you follow me. Follow me on whatever platform you are listening to my voice on. Thank you so much for your support week in and week out. And I am just so happy that you guys are just providing me with all the information, all the tons of feedback to help me grow this channel. So once again, let's get back to it. Education. Let's talk about what is being taught, or rather what's not being taught to our grade school kids. And we're talking today about skills, the life skills, the emotional skills of how to handle the day-to-day emotions that people deal with, especially as kids, as they grow up, as teenagers, as those hormones begin to really take over and just really affect their body, affect their way of handling things, affecting their mental way of handling things, or just the way that they think about things, think about life. Let's say it that way. Unfortunately, our schools, and let me just speak, not all, not universally all, but the majority of our public schools across the nation, they don't teach life skills. They don't teach kids how to handle their emotions, whether it be anger, fear, pain, rejection, love, or if they feel that they are not loved, feelings of inadequacy, you name it. Those are the skills that will help each person individually to be able to go through life more successfully as an adult. Unfortunately, we have a lot of adults now who never learned these skills, who never learned how to handle someone saying no to them, who never learned how to appropriately deal with the feelings of anger and pain. Unfortunately, many adults now, or as an adult, they deal with it in ways of lashing out, whether it be verbally, lashing out, or physically, getting physical with someone, or with something, with an object. And, I definitely understand that there are places, or there are appropriate places and times to be able to get that aggression out physically. If you're in a gym, or whether it be like a boxing type gym or a martial arts type of gym or whatever. They even have businesses that are now created where someone will allow you to come in and smash things in order to get rid of any anger and aggression that you may have or that you may be holding on to. So I understand that there are places for that, but we're talking about when people lash out in angry ways physically with other people or against other people. And let's just say if they're inside of their home and they decide to throw their cell phone or smash, a plate or a window or a TV in their house or their computer, whatever. Those are the unhealthy ways of dealing with anger physically that I'm referring to. Also, rejection. There's too many cases and situations that we are hearing more and more of where people just don't know how to deal with being rejected, whether it be rejection from a job, being fired, being laid off, rejection on a personal level with someone that may not be interested in that person. And, they may be advancing or pursuing that person, but the other person is not interested. And the rejection just stings. Of course, no one really likes rejection, but it's all about how do you manage it? How do you deal with it? And, it's too many unhealthy ways of how people have been dealing with rejection and how people have been dealing with their anger and their pain. It's all rooted into something, of course. And one of the things that we can say for the majority or for the masses, that a lot of this is just because people never learned these skills. People never learned life skills of how to handle their feelings, their emotions. They never learned it. And these are skills that are highly important to learn as a child, as a toddler. As soon as you're able to express, anger or whatever, or let's just say as a toddler who may be being disciplined from their parent because they may have done something wrong, there are some toddlers who will go into a tantrum, who will throw a tantrum. I know we've all seen it or at least heard of it, where a child is throwing a tantrum in the middle of the store. Whether that child just lays out flat on their back and screams to, the top of their lungs, whether that child, starts running through the store, yanking clothes off the hangers, or just running through the store in general, getting away from their parent and just causing a scene in general. So, of that, by the time that a person, a being is of that age, they definitely are ready and old enough to learn life skills, these skills of how to handle and deal with your emotions. Because if they're expressing the emotions at their age, then they need to understand, or they are at a point to where they can learn, or they're ready to learn, or they need to start being taught how to successfully handle their emotions in a more appropriate and positive way. So once they get older, and once they are in high school, and once they become a young adult, once they then become a full-fledged adult, then those skills will have had time and years to develop and to mature. So as an adult, they will then be able to handle things so much better, instead of lashing out at a boss, or lashing out at a coworker, or lashing out at a loved one or a significant other, a husband, a wife, or even from parent to child. Parents still don't know how to appropriately handle their emotions when their child has done something wrong, when their child has done something to disrespect them, or any of those cases. So for me, I don't know. It's hard to fathom the fact that schools, we're seeing all of these different violent actions that are taking place day in and day out. However, the schools don't see the importance of teaching our kids how to manage life, how to handle their inner self, that inner voice, that voice of anger and pain and fear and rejection. I mean, it's more important than learning history and learning, learning science and math and all of that. Of course, those are important as well. Please, don't misunderstand me. Those are important as well. However, if for the first 18 years of a person's life, they're spending the majority of their days in the schools, and that's where they're getting most of their foundations, their foundational learning, then I do believe that it's important for our schools and our educational systems to start paying attention to offering these type of classes, offering these type of programs or opportunities for our students to learn and to go through. Because I mean, that right there will help tremendously with a person being successful in life or not, or it will help tremendously with a person going through life successfully, more successfully or not. And I'm not accounting success when it comes to finances. I'm accounting success to their well-being, their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, mental health, their emotional health. So this is all I was going to talk about today. Don't want to make this one too long. Just the overall understanding of today's message is education of life skills being very important. And until the educational systems understand this or start shining light on it and offering these classes with all of the other classes that they're offering, then the communities, or even just going back home, starting at home, parents and siblings and aunts and uncles and the neighborhood friends, like, we are going to have to start implementing the life skill lessons to our people, our children, our kids while they are young. It is so much easier to teach that versus having to try to change the behaviors that someone has already developed. If we catch them early, if we set the proper expectation early, that will be so much easier than having to go in and adjust or change years of behaving in other ways, other unhealthy ways. So, thank you again for listening to this particular episode of the I Give Life to Life podcast. I am Coach Nrgy. You guys, make sure you follow me. Make sure that you share this information, share this episode, share this channel on whatever platform you are listening on. And I look forward to hearing from some of you, hearing your feedback, hearing your messages, reading your comments, and let's get this conversation started. Let's see what we can do as individuals to at least help in our own power. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay blessed. Talk soon. Bye-bye.